Hi plant friend, it's Cece with One Green Pea. Does traveling without your plants stress you out? If so, this video is made for you. Today I'm going to share all my tips and tricks so your plants will thrive and you can be away with peace of mind. The thought of traveling without your plants can be stressful. A lot of us haven't traveled much in the past couple of years, and a lot of us have also gathered a lot more houseplants than we used to have. I just got back from a 2-week vacation, and 99% of my plants are still happy, healthy, and thriving. Today, I'm going to share all of my tips and tricks and a few hacks so that you can have a successful time away from your plants as well. The number one thing that I did is to identify a friend who could come over and water for me midway on my trip. Now my trip was 2 weeks, so it was convenient to have her come over 1 week into the trip. I went around and identified all of the plants that could make it 2 weeks easily without being watered. Those were succulents, cacti, ZZ plants, snake plants, and also plants in large pots who would just be fine without having water for a couple of weeks. I also identified the plants that needed water more often. Smaller plants, more tender plants, newer plants. Those plants I packed up and took over to her house so that it would be convenient for her. So she didn't have to make multiple trips over to my house. And it would also be just a reminder. She could just leave them on her countertop so that she wouldn't forget those sweet little babies. The day before I left, I took my friend on a walkthrough of the whole house. We went around and I showed her which plants didn't need to be watered. I had marked them with big sticky notes with an X on it, so it was really easy at a glance to see. And I also pointed out plants that were easier to miss, maybe hanging plants, plants on shelves, so on. It's hard enough for the person who owns all the plants to remember to water everything. I certainly didn't want her worrying about missing something. The day before I left, I watered all of my plants thoroughly. I also changed and filled the water in all of my propagates that were growing in jars of water. In the week prior to my trip, I inspected all of my plants as thoroughly as possible, looking for pests, insects, diseases. I didn't want a small problem to magnify over 2 weeks that I wasn't there. So that's a highly recommended step as well. I know it takes time, but it's useful to do even if you aren't traveling. Here are some of my other best tips, and a lot of these apply also if you're not going to have someone come over and water for you. Number one, move your plants together. So whether that is on a table or in a tub or just in the center of a room on the floor, moving all the plants together is good because they create their own little microenvironment and can contribute to humidity, raise the humidity in the area. You could also consider moving plants away from direct light. So getting plants out of windows and just moving them a little bit further away from light sources. Also perhaps turning down your artificial light. If you've got plants under plant lamps, you could reduce the amount of time that the lights are on or even turn them off completely. So you kind of just want the plants to sleep a little bit and not go through rapid growth and have a higher need for water. Another thing to do that just might make you feel better is to take clippings of any plants that you're kind of worried about. That way you have an insurance propagation going in case something happens to the main plant. Something else that I did was take pictures of leaves that were about to open and flowers that were about to bloom. I was really excited to come home and see the progress and take pictures so I would have before and after. Something really important to consider in the week or 2 weeks prior to leaving on a trip is to put yourself on a plant pause, not bring anything new home. It's always good to keep an eye on new plants when you first bring them home, and you wouldn't really be able to do that if you weren't there. I would also consider holding off on repotting plants a week prior. Again, plants need time to adapt, and you would want to be there in case any problems cropped up. So here are my final thoughts on the matter. Plants are resilient. They are more than likely going to do absolutely fine without you there every minute checking in on them. But on the other hand, sometimes plants die, and that's absolutely okay as well. So what happened after my trip? I came home after 2 weeks, and all but one little baby propagate was absolutely thriving. The biggest takeaway that I got from my trip was a sense of confidence and a sense that it was going to be okay to start traveling again. Now, we'll see when I have to go on a longer trip than 2 weeks, but I really think that employing these tips and tricks and hacks is going to make a trip of any length completely successful. Thank you for watching my video. I hope that it was helpful, and I hope that it gave you a sense of confidence and a sense of peace about doing your own traveling. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join our little plant community. Until next time, my plant friends, let's keep growing together a greener world.